So as we're on our computers right now, we are being hit in one direction. And this is why, I mean, no one can deny the fact that when they go outside and they stand in the sun, it's just like this, oh, my body feels good. And this is why they say, look at the sun right when you wake up to set your circadian rhythms. And the body is in tune with nature, and we're wanting and craving it, but we're fighting it with all of these EMFs and these devices that we're on. And I'm guilty. I mean, I'm on my computer right now. I've got my phone, and it's part of daily life that unfortunately we can't get away from. But what is it doing? I've kind of thought of it as they're hitting us, like you said, in one direction, but it's rattling our own frequency, because in our brain and our body are trying to keep up with it, and it can't. Is that correct? Is that one way to talk about it?
Yes, definitely. There's a vibration that happens in the body, and that's a secondary effect that we see in the body. And that there's a constant pinging, I guess would be another way to say it. So they're always, especially the wireless signals. Let's talk about the wireless first. They're always looking for you to connect to them. And so that's a big thing. So it's broadcasting saying, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And most of the time when you're sleeping, no one wants to be talked to. So, but your brain tries to figure out what's pinging it. So we go in these twilight sleeps, but during the day, it's the same thing. We're just awake, and our bodies are so resilient in a lot of ways. But there's so much of the population that's compromised, sensitive to it, too young or too old to have the defense mechanisms in place to really fend this off.
So when you say it's looking for an antenna or a source, does that also imply that the more heavy metals that are in our body, or graphene oxide, those sort of things, are becoming antennas and retrieving that signal even stronger?
Oh, yes. I mean, tattoos, mercury fillings, toxicity from just an array of shots your whole life. There's a long list from the crop dusting that's going on in our air. The list goes on and on. Taking in fluoride in toothpaste, being told lies that fluoride is great for your teeth, putting it in deodorant. The list goes on and on as far as where we get these heavy metal toxicities. But yes, they are conductors. There is no doubt about it. Whenever you're introduced to those, you have to go through a massive detox and flush, make sure your methylation systems are open, and use these great products that you have to help flush the livers, flush the body out, flush the radiation out of your system, to allow your body to not have that bucket of fullness full. It's got to be on empty all the time, and it's constant effort to do it. This isn't something that we take lightly, and you want to be consistently being aware of feeding your body with the proper intake and being aware of your surroundings, and then constantly flushing those when you do get introduced to stuff.
It's unfortunate that we're in this situation, and I mean, my husband complains about it all the time. He's like, we're constantly detoxing, constantly eating clean, and why do we have to? It shouldn't be this way. And I'm like, no, it shouldn't. But we're in a place now where that's our reality, and I tell my clients that you need to be gently detoxing on a daily basis, because that bucket just keeps getting full, and it's the tipping point where then you've got the major chronic disease that ensues. But I know many of you have been complaining about hair loss, anxiety, depression, weight gain that's unexplained, where people haven't had people that have grown up with thick hair are now complaining about hair loss. And so I wanted to get into, why are the EMFs causing all of these health issues?
Because they're a one directional waveform that's just so different than the scalar waves that we're made on. And when you have that type of electrification at the level that we're doing with the proximity protocols that we're self-inducing on ourselves, our bodies will start to go into turmoil. And these are gifts that our body's sharing with us, saying, hey, this is enough. Okay, I have a headache from this, or I'm having behavioral challenge, or I'm not sleeping well. Those are gifts of your body giving you information, saying, hey, wake up and start thinking about what's going on around you and have that level of consciousness raised. And unfortunately, we don't listen to a lot of those gifts. We're not receiving them. And then we just get inundated with all those health challenges, and they just keep getting worse and worse. But at the end of the day, this is a biostressor on the body. It's radiation. We're not made that way. And it's an environmental stressor. And I'll go on record saying it's the number one environmental toxin that we're facing right now is the rollout of 5G and more, and the higher bandwidths.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about that. So what is new in the last 2 years as far as the level of EMFs that we're exposed to?
Well, they keep upping the grid. They're adding more satellites constantly in the thousands, closer than they've ever had, beaming phased array directly down on us. The bandwidth. So one of the things that I see, which is really apparent, when we made our Faraday bags, your phone wouldn't ring inside of them. And then a year later, the brand new phones would start to maybe ring. Maybe they wouldn't. Now, any phone rings inside of our 7-millimeter static bag. That's a military grade static bag, 7 millimeters. It's not an ironclad Faraday cage. It's just a thin Faraday bag where frequencies go in and out of. But this is huge to know that they've ratcheted up the cell phone signals enough that they're burning through 7 millimeters. Now, then I'm like, okay, I have to double these up. So then we made a smaller one to fit inside the bigger one. And they still can find your location on the map in 14 millimeters of a Faraday bag. That's unbelievable. It takes 10 minutes for it to seep through, but they keep ratcheting these signals up so they can go through 14 millimeters of a static bags. I mean, that's pretty incredible, but that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the ratchet up of signal strength. We're seeing the proliferation of stronger signals. We're seeing them pointed. We're seeing developments, housing developments being developed next to towers, and the towers have microwave rate, like literally those microwave beams and the booms, they call them, that are pointing through that new development, and people are renting homes in there. And then the cell towers, and then again, those cell towers, they're pointing in every direction, again, to validate that they're one directional waveform, so they don't work. So they have to have them pointed every direction, but they have those pointed directly towards these housing projects. So, and they're right at the level of the second, third, fourth story complexes that weren't there a year prior, but yet that tower is still there. So we're just getting blasted at levels that are unprecedented.
And they're trying to hide them. I love when they try to hide them with palm trees and they do the poles in brown, and then they put some leaves around them, making us think that we're so stupid that we can't see them. But they are everywhere, and it's not, you could think, oh, I'm just going to move to, Idaho and be in the middle of nowhere. Well, I have talked to people in Idaho, and it almost seems like there's more of the towers in those places that you didn't think that there would be. So it seems like it's going to be something we have to live with at a level. But just like we talked about, we need to mitigate and minimize as much of what is in our control. Right. Yeah. And then obviously not stress about the rest, but you take back control of your health. And part of that is to take some supplements that detox you, use some devices that help protect you from the EMFs, get out in nature, and do all of these things in line to live your best life, right? In 2020, now 2023.